Tune into this week's episode on the DevOps Lab, where we have Octopus Deploy back again. This time, we're going to use Octopus Deploy to deploy into Azure, so tune in. Welcome to the DevOps Lab, where we have Octopus Deploy back for another great episode. And joining us, we have Derek Campbell. Welcome back, Derek.
Hey, April. How are you today? I've not seen you in ages.
I know, it's been so long. It's been like 3 minutes in video time. So welcome back, Derek. So last time we talked about integrating Octopus Deploy into Azure DevOps. Today, we're going to focus more on the Azure side with Runbooks and deploying something cool into Azure using Octopus Runbooks.
Yes. So Runbooks is something that we launched back in January 2020. I originally come from operations and I moved into DevOps. Because, this is a cool thing, right?
It is.
And we released this, and honestly, it's my favourite feature of Octopus Deploy. I think I'd probably get into trouble back at Octopus HQ for admitting that. But honestly, Runbooks have so many use cases. So Octopus has been about for a long time for deployments. And I loved it. I've been using it for a long time. It's a really great product. But what came along was we actually came with Runbooks, right? And so what are Runbooks? Runbooks, for those who are familiar with operations, there used to be a lot of paper involved, right? April, you would get, you get a really big bit of paper and it'd be like, new starter is joining. And then you'd have to set up the user in Azure, in Active Directory. It wasn't Azure Active Directory back then.
It wasn't back then.
Yeah, and that's it. So what Runbooks initially were to do was take that bit of paper, right, set it on file, and basically do it in code. But some of the things, just some of the use cases, like emergency tasks, like I've used it for disaster recovery failover, failing over from West Europe to North Europe, etc. There's lots and lots of really cool stuff, but you can use it for infrastructure as code. So in the last episode, I ran through and created the .NET core build for random quotes. So we won't jump into the deployment just yet. I want to show you Runbooks. So Runbooks is a way for you to effectively use the same deployment task, but in a effectively within a runbook. And what you can do is things like infrastructure as code. And one of my favourites, particularly in Azure, is platform as a service. So many times with setting stuff up, it just, you had to. I go back, and this honestly wasn't all that long ago. Maybe 8 years ago, I remember having to take a physical server as well. I actually had to rack it. My muscles back then were much bigger than they are now because platform as a service doesn't weigh anything.
Yep,
So
that's true.
Yes, it does. So with that, what we're going to do today is I'm going to just create some infrastructure for test and production, and then I'm just going to start playing with the infrastructure. So at this point, I'm just going to actually jump in and I'm going to hit run. The main reason is, as fast as platform as a service is, it is much quicker than obviously racking your server, which would take potentially 3 to 6 months. I remember the old days when you had to speak to Dell or HP or a server manufacturer, and you would order it. It would turn up about 6 to 8 weeks later. By the time you racked it, honestly, like requesting a server used to take roughly 3 to 6 months. Now,
absolutely, and then that doesn't count deploying what you're actually trying to do on that server. On top of that.
And that's also one of the things I like about platform as a service, is particularly web apps, is it is effectively, the way I've always kind of seen it is it's like IIS as a service, right? But obviously it's much more now than it used to be as well. So let's actually, whilst I'm creating the infrastructure, let's jump in and have a look. Because one of the things that I am doing is I'm using a bunch of infrastructure as code. So I tried to hit as many of the Microsoft languages as I can. So you've got your .NET Core. In this one, I'm creating the resource group. And so what this is this is PowerShell. Just good old PowerShell, just doing a try, catch, and if. So what we're effectively doing here is creating the resource group. So resource groups, for those that are not, it's effectively a logical container for all of your infrastructure. So in this one, what I'm effectively doing is checking if it exists, because obviously you've got incremental mode versus complete mode. And then from there, if it has already been created, then just continue on to the next step. So at this point, what we're going to see is we're actually also using, one of the things I like is I do not hard code anything, or at least I try not to hard code everything. So in this one, we're using ARM. So one of the things is you can also do this in Bicep. It's not fully featured, but it's definitely something that we can do. So what we've got here is just a jump on in and have a look at the ARM. So what we've got here is you've got your normal parameters, your SKU, your code, OS type. In this instance, it's Windows, but you can also use Linux web apps as well. And there we go. So let's, as you can see down here, we've got some parameters. We're actually matching those up to Octopus variables. So this is a project variable, but you also have library variable sets. Library variable sets are things that you can set across your entire space or across your entire Octopus instance. So in this instance, let's jump on over. Actually, we'll have a look at that in just a moment. But what we've then got is we're then creating the web app, which again is ARM. Let me just jump in. And again, as you can see, I'm using the variables again for our parameters. And what we tend to do is with that is we normally set them in that library variable set. So you can see here, you're seeing here that you've got some projects, some Azure doc. I'm a huge fan of just really nice, easy to understand naming conventions. So in this instance, this variable is a project variable. Azure is a library variable set because what we've done here is everything in this space is deployed to Azure. So yeah, we just got some options there as well.
Makes sense. Really logical, clean code. It's good to see.
Yeah,
really good to see.
I like to keep it clean mostly because I'm terrible at writing code. But yeah, that always helps. And then lastly, I've got to switch back to PowerShell just to kind of mix it up. And then what we're actually doing here is because a web app, you can't actually, how Octopus normally works is you would run it via an agent, which is called a tentacle. In this instance, we're actually running this from a worker, so we're actually communicating back with Octopus. So we've just created the infrastructure, we're then registering it over the API. So that's just something to be aware of. And then what we've got here is I've tagged it with the role of random quotes -web, because in the last one I built the random quotes application. So at this point, I should have spoke long enough that we have infrastructure. So let's jump on over to the infrastructure tab. And there we go, we have 2 Azure web apps. And then there we go, we've got prod-speaking-random quotes, and then the same as test. And one just last thing, as you can see in the URL, that's test-speaking.random quotes. We have the running web app, but alas, we have no deployed code. So, well, that's not good. But join us next time, and I'll deploy that code to the web app.
Awesome, Derek. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. So hopefully you learned a little bit about Octopus Runbooks today, and you can tune in next time to learn how we're going to push our code to those actual web app instances. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and join us next time.